Welcome back, peeps, to another exciting JavaScript basics video. I'm Zen, and in this video we are going to be looking at arrays, just simply how to create an array empty and how to add a few things into it. So without further ado, let's get into it. So before I can go any further, the first thing I have to say is arrays are awesome. They are so powerful, so handy. They are unbelievably awesome, and I hope that you end up thinking they're awesome too. They're almost as awesome as objects, which is the next video, but they are just so cool and so great. And basically, in order for you to understand that, let's sort of go back and look at normal variable first, and then why we think arrays are cool. So when we look at a normal variable, which we've got a lot here from the previous videos we've done, we can see that we start off with a variable name, okay, so the identifier, and it comes with a value which we are able to change if it's a variable, and if it's a constant then it obviously can't change. But we basically have a name value pair, and that's essentially what a variable is, and it's great, and that's why we love them. You know, we can reference them in our programs and change them as we're going along. It's brilliant. But we've only got one value, and for the most of the time that is fine. That's brilliant, okay? But there are times when we need to deal with a lot of values, and forgive the pun here, but the array, you know, a whole array of values that we need to deal with. You know, like me as a teacher, I might have a class of students and I've done a test with them and I've got all the results, and absolutely I need to know what student got what score, but I may also want to do some analysis on the scores as a whole, so not necessarily on an individual but as the class, and therefore the actual scores are more important than the person it's related to. And I would like those scores in a list so I can do a better analysis. So for example, I can find out what the average is, or the highest score and the lowest score, and the difference between them, what the mean, mode, the median, and all those other really mathematical stuff that most people don't find interesting. And let's be honest, I probably don't either. But you know, the place I work at will want to have these figures to sort of be able to judge how good I am as a teacher, which, okay, not that great, but you know, compare it to other teachers, and you know, perhaps other ways things have been taught, etc, etc, etc. And this is where arrays come into it. See, an array is essentially a variable type which allows us to have multiple values attached to it. So not just one value, not just a number, not just a piece of text, not just a true or false value that we've looked at before, but a whole array. And I hate using that as a descriptor, but that's what it is, a whole list, a whole, you know, group of numbers or letters. In fact, what's even great with arrays, especially in JavaScript, and I'm pretty sure it's the same in most languages, your arrays can be a mixture. It doesn't all have to be numbers. It can be numbers, it can be letters, you know, it can be paragraphs, it can actually be arrays of arrays and all other wonderful stuff, which we will look at in other videos. But in order to keep this one under 15 years, we'll just keep to the you know, sort of basic array creation stuff. So how do we create an array? Well, actually we start it the same way as we do with all the other variables, and that makes sense because it is a variable of sorts. So we use a keyword let, and then we have a variable name, and I'm just going to call it my I'm going to be a pirate 1. Okay, and first of all, we can create an empty array by just doing an open and closing of the square brackets. And actually, even though I haven't said this in the other videos I've done so far, in JavaScript, you can actually create empty variables all the time. So you can even do like let, let's do in the case my, let's see, have I got a my var? Okay, let's go for a my var. And you can actually just leave it like that. Okay, so this is where we've initiated a variable, but we've not assigned it a value. Okay, so this is the initiation stage. When we see it like this, we have initialized and assigned the value. In some programming languages, I think Visual Basic is one of them, you have to initiate or define your variables before you can start using them. So at the top of your code, you must list all the variables going to be used before you give them values. Okay. In JavaScript, it's a very sort of what we call a loose typing language for many reasons, and this is one of them, where you can sort of declare your variables as you need them. You don't have to do it like this, although sometimes it is important to do so due to scope. Again, another subject, we'll get to that later, well, another video. So, but if you want to declare an array without any variables in it, without any values within it, I should say, this is how you do it. And the reason why you might want to do that is, for example, you might be querying something and getting a load of results back, and then you want to place them into the array once you've got it. And so you want to create the array, get the information, and then start adding the values into the array once you've received them. Obviously, you can also start an array with values, and that is just really simple again. So we go for let, and we go for my array number 2, and you can still do the square brackets, but this time you put in the values and you put a comma between each value. As you can see, I'm putting in numbers, but like I said before, you can put in strings if you want. Okay, it makes no difference what you put in here. You can mix and match as much as you like. It makes no difference. Notice that the last value does not have the comma after it. Okay, so the comma is only there. Oops. Oh, sorry. Still keep that. That's valid. We only put the comma in if there's going to be another value after it. Okay, you don't put it at the end because there's nothing else there. And of course, we always terminate with our semicolon. And that's it. That is the simple source to it. Now, actually, this is the shorthand version of doing it. There is a longhand version, and not many people use it, and I think for good reason. Okay, so you can do let, and we'll go for my R3, and we say equals, and we say new array. Like that. And that will create an empty array. If we want to do an array with values in it, then we do the same technique. Let my R4 equal new array. But instead of using square brackets, we use the normal parentheses, the standard brackets that you're using. Used to using, and then we just put the values in like normal. So again, 45, 21, 76, Fred. Banana, and 11. So the values in here don't mean anything, they're not meant to, it's just showing you how to do so. And this is why I don't like it. Okay, I think this is an error in JavaScript. I know it's not an error because I understand what's going on and why it's got this, what we call the syntax, which is like the grammar of programming. But I think it's a mistake to use normal brackets here and then square brackets here, because you know it's very easy for people starting to make mistakes. So even though this is what you call, you know, like the full declaration or the officially the proper way of doing it, this shorthand method we use here, I recommend is what you keep to, because that way you're not going to make the silly mistakes. Now, how do we get the values? Well, we can console log these out, okay, and what you'll see is like something a bit different from what we've seen before. So we're going to do console, if I can spell, console.log my R2. And before we go any further, if you remember from the last video, we've got false there, capital F, so we need to get rid of that to a lowercase. Otherwise it's always going to stop here. So we're going to save this, and this is what we get. And you know, it's not the normal sort of, oh, we'll just see the value type thing that we've seen before. So what we actually get is, first of all, this bit in the brackets tells us how many values there are. Okay, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. I can count, fantastic. Okay, so this first bit says it is an array and there are 6 values in this array. And then as you can see, it gives them all out there. But we can also open it up and see it all like this. And here's the interesting bit. You see, it starts off with 0 and ends in 5. Okay, this is because arrays are, at least in JavaScript, not in all languages, but arrays in JavaScript are what we call 0 ordered. So the first position in the array is 0. This is position 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And so the next question is, well, what if I only want to get out a single value from the array, which is obviously quite what you want to do. And so again, we're only console logging it, but it's the same technique. So we do console log, we do my r2, and then we use the square brackets and we put in the number of the position. Remember, like I said, it is 0 ordered. So 0, 1, 2, 3. So if I want to get strings out, it's the value 3. Semicolon, save, and we get strings. Okay, and so that is how you access the values in arrays. Now that's not the only way. There are loads of different ways, and there's so many things you can do with arrays, it's unbelievable. And there will be a much longer video or videos on arrays because they are pretty much awesome sauce. The only other thing I want to do is just do the type of, like we've done before, because we don't actually get the result that we expect. In fact, there's 2 things I want to do. This is the first one, console.log type of my r2, and then we save that, and whoops, see, even I make mistakes. Console.log, save it, and it says object. It doesn't say an array, it says object. Why is that? Well, this is where again it gets a bit more complicated, because arrays are a type of an object, and we're going to do objects next. Okay, but it is worth understanding that when you try and prove it, it comes up as an object, which is a bit unusual, but when you see it like this, it kind of helps you realize it is an array. Although that being said, one of the things that we didn't say when we did the characters strings is that strings are actually stored as arrays, and I can prove that by doing this. So we'll go back up to an old piece of work here where we've got the message. If I do console.log and then I go message, and if I go 2 in there, this is going to come up at the top here. It's the 3rd one, so we'll see what comes up, and we save that. We see we get the letter E. Okay, number 5, line 5. Okay, and so again 0, 1, 2 is the letter E. Strings are actually stored as a massive array. Okay, each letter, each digit, so even the spaces, for example, each take up a slot in an array. Okay, and arrays can be of literally infinite length. I'm sure there is a limit somewhere, but I don't know where it is. But that's my little Brucey bonus for you guys there. And like I say, this is not even the tip of the iceberg. This is the tip of the iceberg when we talk about arrays. But for what you needed for your Unit 6 assignment 1, where you're having to explain different variable types, how to create them, this is all you need. And so I shall stop there before it ends up being 27 years later on. As always, guys, please don't forget to comment and all that other jazz below. If you've got a question you want to ask, please feel free to do so. You know what all the other buttons do. So I'll see you guys in the next video. I'm Zan, signing out.